Okay, right, we'll cut the weather chat. I think we've done that to death. And I'll formally welcome you all here to this session, which is focusing on the upcoming Carers Week in June. But before I do that, welcome to everyone here. I know quite a few faces here, but there are some people who are new to us, so it's really nice to see you here, and hopefully we'll be able to sort of share some new information. My name's Sue McClintock, and I manage the Carer Positive awards across Scotland. And I work for Carers Scotland. We're one of the national carers charities that support unpaid carers across Scotland, and Carer Positive sits within our charity, and we deliver it on behalf of the Scottish Government. And I'll quickly ask my colleague Christine to say hello as well.
Hi everyone.
So Christine sort of manages all the kind of comms and social media, and whenever anyone gets a Carer Positive award, Christine always manages the kind of comms around that and celebrates achievement on the website and whatnot. So we'll kick off in a wee minute, but I just want to say, and it might have popped up when you entered the meeting, that we're recording this. It's quite helpful for people who haven't been able to make it along to be able to watch a recording. So a few folk have asked if it's being recorded. So if anyone's not comfortable about that, by all means, feel free to leave or to put your camera off, or you know, whatever you feel comfortable with, but it is being recorded. So thanks to everyone for turning up. I'm just going to share my screen just now to let you see what we're going to be covering today. And I will put it onto the slideshow format, which hopefully everyone can see, and just trying to find the controls. They're so faded out, it's difficult to see. Yeah, if hopefully everyone can hear me and see that. And what I'm just going to do is, no, I'm on the presenter screen, so all I can see is the presentation. Christine, if you could let me know if anything in the chat pops up to respond to. No problem. I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're going through today. It's really just to introduce you to Carers Week and why this is important. And obviously in the context of working carers and, you know, how Carer Positives can support employers, we want to have a wee look at what employers can do to support carers during Carers Week and to raise awareness of Carers Week and the sort of activities you can get involved in. We'll run you through some of the support and resources that are available as well. And I want to sort of end the kind of presentation part of the session with a wee look at how important carers centres are in your local communities, and how they can help carers, and actually how they can help you as employers tap into some of the support they're able to provide, and how you can signpost carers in your organisations to that support. And then I thought it would be quite helpful if we, and there's certainly enough of us here today, to break into a couple of groups so that you can maybe kind of learn from each other and have some discussions around what kind of Carers Week activities you might have been involved in and what you're planning to do. And then we can come back together and kind of discuss that more openly as a group. So I'll just kick on, and for those of you who aren't familiar, I think most people here are familiar with Carers Week, but it's always helpful to remind ourselves, you know, why that comes around every year, and some people may not have been involved in it before. But it's an annual campaign that raises awareness of caring and carers, and it highlights the challenges that unpaid carers face. and it wants to help recognise the contribution they make to families and communities throughout the UK. So it's across the whole UK that Carers Week takes place. And importantly, as part of that, it helps people who don't think of themselves as carers. It helps them recognise that they are carers, and helps them then identify themselves as carers to services, to their employers, and to maybe to get in touch with carer centres and access the support that they need to help them balance their work and care and their lives and care. And just on that, it's always really, really helpful to just have a kind of reminder of a definition really of what a carer is, because it's a term that can actually get quite confused at times, and people don't always recognise that they are carers. But basically, and this is a definition that we use, there are actually quite a few varied definitions of who is a carer. Essentially, it's someone who provides unpaid care and support to a family member or a friend or a neighbour indeed, who might have a disability, an illness, a mental health condition, an addiction, or someone who just needs extra help as they grow older. And importantly, it isn't someone who volunteers or is employed to provide support, because a lot of people get confused sometimes about the term carers, and in the sense of, oh, carers are coming in to help my mum as part of a kind of support package. It's not paid carers, it's unpaid carers. And it can obviously affect anyone at any age, at any time, and it can last a lifetime. Equally, it can last for a shorter period of time. But it's helpful to remind ourselves of that kind of definition of caring. So every year, Carers Week has a slightly different theme. And last year it was making carers visible and valued and supported. And that's all obviously still very important, but this year the theme is recognition and support, and that's really because carers do need to be recognised for the difficulties they're experiencing, respected for all that they do, and provided with the information and support that they need to carry out their caring roles. So during Carers Week this year, we're all coming together to recognise and support carers across our communities. And again, a quick reminder, and lots of you will have seen this type of slide and these type of stats before, but it's actually quite helpful to look at these again, because it reminds us of the number of people who are caring in Scotland, and also the number of people who are juggling work with caring responsibilities. And around the figures kind of vary, obviously, and we're waiting for the more up-to-date, the latest Scottish Government statistics to be released. But the latest official statistics were that around 270,000 people in Scotland were combining work and care. More recent estimates suggest that it might be nearer 300,000 people in Scotland who are working and caring, and that could equate to around 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 in your workplace, depending on what kind of workplace it is, depending on the demographic of the workplace, but it's certainly a significant number of people in the workforce who are likely to be caring. And as the population gets older, and as we all continue to work longer in our lives, then that figure is likely to, increase over the years. And sadly, without support, many carers do find that they have to give up work or to cut their hours quite dramatically, and this was estimated across the UK at around 600 people every day. And obviously that's not good for carers, it's not good for their families, and in a work context it's really not good for employers, because often carers are, have built up valuable skills and experience, over 90% of working carers are over the age of 30, and the peak age of caring is between 45 and 64. So that's a substantial number of people who have built up a lot of skills and experience. So employers really don't want to lose those valuable members of staff. So during Carers Week, there are great opportunities for carers to get involved. And if we think just very briefly of the theme of Carers Week this year, in terms of recognising carers, it's an opportunity for employers to kind of reach out and raise awareness amongst all staff. Not just carers, but amongst their colleagues as well. And it helps send a really positive message to staff. Just talking about caring can help people feel more comfortable and supported. Employers can also help staff recognise themselves as carers. They can remind carers of that definition I was talking about earlier. They can use examples. They can they can help people actually recognise and identify themselves as carers, and they can also encourage managers to help staff as well and to reach out to staff who are carers. In terms of supporting carers, let carers in your organisations know that you understand their challenges and that you want to support them. It's a good time to review workplace policies, and it's particularly important at the moment because with new legislation likely to come into place probably next year, it's really important to be on top of the the statutory support for carers and how your workplace can make sure that the policies are up to date. So the carer, we can talk more about the Carers Leave Bill if anyone wants to find out more about that. But essentially, it's bringing into statute the right to 5 days of carers leave every year, and that's unpaid. But lots of employers offer paid leave as well. But so that's all coming along. It's really helpful as well in terms of support to signpost carers to external information, to carer centres and other supportive charities. And you can perhaps think of an activity to support carers during Carers Week. I've just listed some examples here, but I think in the discussion groups it will be helpful to talk more about these. This presentation is really just an overview of Carers Week and what it's about. And lots of our carer positive employers in the past have, they've held some fantastic activities during Carers Week, and hopefully some of them might share some of those examples. But you could hold an information stall in a reception area. Of course, that could be virtually if people aren't all, sort of in workplaces. But yeah, just with fact sheets and helpful information. We've had examples of organisations holding carers coffee mornings or carers cafes. You could run an awareness raising session for staff. You could perhaps ask a carer centre to get involved. You could host an advice or a drop-in session, or ask another expert to come in and give a talk on something that could be of interest. Display posters, use your website, all your kind of comms channels to raise awareness and to reach out to carers. You could do something a wee bit more kind of leisure-based or health and well-being based. I know that a number of our employers have had sort of, the integrated kind of carer support into health and well-being sessions, including kind of mindfulness, yoga, exercise, massage sessions, that sort of thing. And the Carers Week website has a whole number of resources and sort of social media tools to help you raise awareness and to encourage staff to get involved. And I'll just I'll just show a few of these. I would say we've got links at the end of the presentation that we'll make available to everyone. But when I was talking earlier on about trying to kind of help people recognise that they are carers, there's a whole range of posters and you know, fact sheets that actually do help that. So if employers can maybe you know, put these posters and guides in workplaces, that goes a huge way to helping somebody get the support that they need. And I particularly like this, the Carers Week poster here, which talks about what carers do, but then all the other things that people sometimes don't think about. So it's nice for you know, to be able to put posters and things like that up. There are some hashtags and some social media contributions that you can use to help raise awareness as well, and to let the outside world know that you're supporting Carers Week. Again, just a wee snippet of some of the activities and some guides that you'll find on Carers Week. What I would say is the Carers Week website isn't fully, it's live, but it's not fully up to date yet. Apparently, from the 15th of May, all the resources there will be properly up to date. So in plenty of time for you for Carers Week. So some of these are from last year, but the same sort of things are going to be available for 2023. Just keep an eye on it. There are some of the resources, these graphics and posters are available just now. And as you can see there, if you pop your email address on the website, they'll get in touch with you to let you know what other resources are available when they come on stream. So a few more links. Again, we'll make these available. We want this session to be of practical use to you. So one of the useful things you can do for carers, I said earlier, was to you know, just sort of give them some helpful sources of information. So these are helpful links that you can pass on. Also, Carers Scotland can come into workplaces or hold some online training and awareness sessions. So I've just got a couple of slides on those that will be part of this pack that we'll make available for you after this. But basically, we can offer a range of training sessions on carer awareness and support, on being heard if you're a carer, on carers' rights and entitlements, on legislation and policy, and also on bespoke training opportunities. And my colleague Patricia Clark's email address is at the bottom there if anyone wants to get in touch with her. And Carer Positive itself, if anyone here is interested in becoming a Carer Positive employer, I would just remind you that it is free to take part in. We provide any support that you might need in getting through the process and becoming recognised as a Carer Positive employer, which is in itself a really great thing to do and sends a positive message to staff. So that's something that you could think about for kicking off during Carers Week, or, you know, beginning to look at. And I wanted to end my bit with just saying that we've got some e-learning resources that are in the final stages of development that we will be making available to all Carer Positive employers. So we'll let you know when those launch, and that'll hopefully be in time for Carers Week. So it's perhaps something that if you're looking for an activity, you can actually use the e-learning resources to sort of make available to staff and to managers. And I am going to now, I'll tell you what, before I do that, I'm just going to come out of sharing for a minute and then I'll go back in. But I'll stop sharing and come out. And it was just to give you an overview and to give you some links to practical resources and we can talk more about that. I'm going to ask Ellie Dewlings from Dundee Carers Centre to talk in a wee minute about some of the things that carers centres do in their local communities and how actually that can be very helpful for employers as well. But before I do that, has anyone got any questions about Carers Week more generally, about Carer Positive, or anything else that would be helpful to know just now? Nope, are we okay with that? Okay, thanks very much, and I'll pass over to Ellie. Ellie, I've got your slide up in my presentation. Do you want me to get that back up again?
I might just say a couple of words first, and then if I
yes,
just
of course,
if that's all right.
Yeah.
It's better to talk to faces for the majority.
It is.
Yeah, so thanks, Sue, for inviting me. Always good to talk about what we do. So I'm the learning and development worker there at Dundee Carers Centre, that is. We're a reasonably large carer centre. We've got about 60 staff and a similar amount of volunteers. The core of what we do is provide localised support for carers. So we moved to a localities approach 2 or 3 years back, just in time for the pandemic. So we have carer support workers in each of the localities within Dundee that can provide one-to-one support. We do a lot of group work. We have volunteers supporting on a one-to-one basis as well as within groups. We also support carers to do involvement and participation projects. So we've got quite good links with NHS boards and quite an active group of carers willing to sort of have their voices heard on that level and help us design programme as well. The main thing that I'm involved in is around sort of supporting carers to gain skills themselves, whether that's to do with the caring role or out with it when it's appropriate. So things like we have workshops on stress and anxiety, managing behaviour, but also things like creative writing, and I also do quite a lot of support around accreditation. So doing things like adult achievement awards, which, if you don't know, are awards that you can get that are nationally recognised, but can be on anything. So we've had carers do it on, aspects of their caring role, or participating in one of our groups or as a volunteer, and that really kind of is a great process to go through to have carers recognise the skills that they have gained through caring or outside of it, when often their mindset is more around, just having to do the work that they do as carers. And yeah, we have we also do a fair bit of work with working carers, increasingly so. So we've had a couple of group sessions going into specific workplaces, the larger ones that have a cohort of carers. That's something that we can do. Sue, would you like to just pop up my slides just for me, really, to check I've not forgotten anything? It's just one slide from the information sessions that we do, just to kind of share the variety of our provision, really. Obviously, there's people here from across the board, so each carer centre will be different to us, but just to kind of give you an idea. And yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's mainly it. Short breaks. We do offer short breaks, and there'll be a provider across the country that is able to do that. We have short breaks brokers that are able to talk to carers about what a break would look like for them. and that can be really varied. Doesn't have to be going away. We've had things like magazine subscriptions and even things like driving lessons, as long as it can be argued that that's, you know, that's somebody getting a break. That's probably it for a summary. I don't want to take up an hour or so. I don't know if anybody's got any questions or anything for us. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is we also administer something called Carers of Dundee, which is worth a look if you want to see what's going on in the area. And we've developed quite a few e-modules that, although they are specific to Dundee, might be useful for people, because there's plenty of sort of advice that's, you know, generically applicable for carers. And so that we have various ones, and some of them are for carers directly, and some of them are for people like yourselves that want to support carers. Yeah.
Thanks, Ellie. June's got a question, Ellie.
Yes.
June, do you want to ask Ellie the question, or I know that you've put it in the chat there, that do you have hospital-based carers support workers supporting carers through the hospital discharge process, Ellie?
We don't, as a kind of regular thing. That we did do a project a few years back about working with discharge planners, and at that point we were in hospitals a lot more. Obviously we were doing a kind of like what's the word, like practice research kind of with them. I would say the main thing that we do in collaboration with hospitals is around we deliver sessions to like student nurses and other healthcare providers as and when it's requested. So we do have quite good links with hospitals, but yeah, we don't have a sort of regular presence within the hospital itself.
Does anyone else have any specific questions? I think one of the points I would probably make is that it's something that the employers can do that can be helpful for carers who might not be, somebody in a workplace might be new to caring. It might have happened overnight. They might not be aware that there, you know, of the range of support that's available, and it's also not always about what an employer can do in terms of, you know, leave or flexibility. Sometimes some of the real stresses that carers are under are often related to, you know, feeling unprepared for their caring role and not knowing how to kind of navigate the kind of quite complicated process sometimes that comes with perhaps dealing with the local authority or hospital, you know, maybe with the discharge process, filling out an adult care support plan, getting a carer's assessment, all those kind of new things that can be really difficult. And it can be really helpful to know that you know, that there is a carer's centre there able to, you know, provide advice and guidance through some of those quite tricky processes. So it's why I always think it's helpful for employers to at least know, you know who their local carer centre is, and to even signpost carers to get that support. Because, as I say, a lot of the stresses are around the external factors that people are dealing with. So I think for employers, it's really helpful to look internally at the support that they provide through policies and flexible working and other kind of practical support, but also to look externally at how they can make sure carers are connected to the kind of community-based support. Oh, and that's Sophie saying, so Sophie Fife's from Connecting Carers in Highland, and she's just saying that they have a boat trip booked on Loch Lomond for carers, young and adult carers, to celebrate Carers Week. And they also have to factor in rural carers who can't get in person to events. So they're holding an online quiz along with prizes for the winning team. So that might be quite nice for folk to attend if they're Highland based. But yeah, so the point I would say is get in touch with your local carers centre, find out what they're doing for Carers Week as well, and there might be events that, if you're not doing anything particularly in your own organisation, the Carers Centre might have quite a lot of activities going on that week that you can tap into. Has anyone else got anything they want to ask or add at this stage? Yes, a list of Carers Centres is not a problem. We can circulate that. Yeah. And I would say also have a wee look at the Carers Week website, because that'll have a list of activities as well. And thanks for folk who are here, but they're having to leave just now. Thanks for attending, Stuart. Okay, so without any further discussion at the moment, what we thought would be a nice use of time to get folk talking together is just to split into a couple of discussion groups. And I'm just going to grab the questions from the presentation again and put these into the chat. And I'll just cut and paste these in so we don't have to have the presentation up. Okay, so I'll pop those in the chat. And I just thought it would be quite nice just to focus on these questions to sort of start some discussion. Are you planning a Carers Week activity this year? And have you taken part in Carers Week in previous years? And if you have, what worked well and what didn't work so well? And what would help with planning this year's activity? And I'm hoping within the groups there's a mix of existing carer positive employers who have held events before, who might be able to share some information with you. And there might be people who have not done anything before. So Christine, if you could split us into two groups just now, and if we do that until 3 o'clock, it's 2:38, so it gives us just over 20 minutes just to have discussions in two groups. Thanks.
Okay, I'm just going to get you on into them just now. Moment.
Yeah, sorry, apology first of all from my group to Debbie Rutherford from Borders Carers, who was, here she is. Sorry, Debbie, apologies to you there. You were in the middle of talking, and
sorry about that.
because I was thinking it would happen right at 3 o'clock for some reason, but it obviously.
So I didn't take it personally. Don't worry.
Don't worry. I don't know whether you feel that you want to continue with the.
It was just group. To say,
yeah.
You know, that we're having an event this year, but we've managed to get funding from somewhere that doesn't expect us to give back lots of reports. So we're just doing something really lovely, because whenever we spoke to carers, they just said, look, we just want to just have a break from caring. We just want to have a nice time. We want to speak to other carers, and there's so much to be gained from that. So we're just having a big afternoon tea. We're doing some garden games outside and making it really light and just a really fun event rather than making them work.
That sounds lovely. Yeah.
Hopefully the sun shines.
Yes, I really hope it does. Leslie, would you like to come in? Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was just a quick question, just following on from our group, so I hope it's not too cheeky. But I just wondered, Julie, Stuart, you'd said about last year that you'd sent, or that your comms had sent the screensavers to staff for the week. Is that correct? Because I think that's a really good idea, and I just wondered, did you just give the screensaver to comms and they put it out put it out, because we've got so many people remote working. If I can get people to change their backgrounds, I think that would be really great for the week.
Yeah, it's our comms team that we worked with on it, and they came up with the, well, we supplied the images and then they pulled it all together, and they everybody has that screensaver for a week across the entire organization. They can't change it, so it's an automatic thing between comms and our business systems people.
Yeah,
but yes, okay. That's what we did, and we're doing the same this year.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a great idea, isn't it? That sounds like something that could be done reasonably easily by just about anyone. So, Christine, do you want to share any other sort of activities and ideas from your group?
Sure. I mean, it was quite varied, really. And I was saying as well, sometimes, you know, there's so many different ways to go about it. Some people are doing things that are very kind of squarely aimed at carers, where there is more awareness stuff, and also particularly to do with manager awareness things going on as well. But yeah, all kinds of things. The setting up a walking group was one of the main highlights, I think. Sounded quite interesting, but yeah, just very varied kind of things. We had sort of Edrington group are going to be even just trying to they've got people all over the world, and they want to have they've got a carer to speak to some of the areas that haven't had anyone claiming kind of carers leave and things like that. So maybe kind of get some people just recognizing themselves and understanding caring a bit more as well. So I thought that was really interesting idea too. But yeah, it's been quite varied, really.
Good. And one of the issues that came up in our group that was helpful to hear about, but I actually just sort of reminded us of the importance of kind of proper awareness. And it was Leslie from NHS Hertfordshire and West Sussex sort of made the point that after holding some Carers Week activities and awareness sessions last year, it did actually flag up the fact that some managers were not kind of consistently sort of giving the same messages to carers about you know, maybe their leave entitlements and support provisions. So it's why it's really important to have clear policies and, you know, helpful for carers to be able to see, if they're looking at policies, exactly what they are entitled to, so that there's no sort of scope for misunderstanding or different messages from different line managers. So, you know, awareness raising is probably really important to undertake with line managers and for all staff as well. But I also really, I love the idea of just enabling carers to have a complete break from caring, and maybe that's something that employers can think about as well, that if they can enable carers during that week to attend something that their local carer centre's running, or if they are doing something themselves, that it's more of a kind of treat thing for carers to enjoy, then great. But if they're not doing anything like that within the workplace, perhaps saying to carers that they can join into something external would be a nice idea as well. The screensaver was the other thing I was going to mention. And also, I think, Julie, you also said that you were planning this year on organising an external speaker to come in to give some sort of information and advice. And where was that person from again, Julie?
They're coming to us from Glasgow City Health and Social Care Partnership.
Yeah.
And the person is a carers advice and information worker.
That's good, so that'll be helpful. We've certainly still got time left in the meeting just for sort of open discussion and questions. Is there anything else that people want to share or ask around, or any ideas that you might have that you're not quite sure of? Or anything that would help you plan something that we can try and help with? It's why we hold this session about a month before Carers Week, because it gives people a chance to think about things. And oh, sorry, I'm just going to make sure that phone doesn't go off. Debbie and Jennifer, you've got your hand up. I don't know who was first. Debbie, I think.
It was just to say, is there anywhere that we could get resources? I'll look properly on the website, JPEGs if possible, really particularly around the carers leave bill, and also I'm just trying to find ways to get employers to buy in, because had a situation recently where a carer, I invited her on a retreat as part of, there was 8 parent carers coming away for a night, and it was really important that this lady got a break, and her employer absolutely point blank refused to allow this. And I tried speaking to her, I tried to, you know, explain the situation, and she wasn't having any of it. And, you know, any sort of bill or anything that I quoted to her was just making no impact at all. So just think it'd be nice to have some really clear, concise benefits really to employers as to why they should, you know, encourage that.
Sure, and it's certainly something we talk about when we're talking to employers about. I mean, the focus of this was around Carers Week, but equally we do sessions with employers on that, you know, on why it's important to, from an employer's perspective, to support working carers. And more than happy to hold a particular kind of session on that, you know, and that applies to anyone here if you want to sort of go through that in more detail. And there are, you know, sort of some statistics, there are examples of, you know, why it's good for a whole number of reasons, in terms of recruiting staff, in terms of retaining staff, in terms of, you know, being able to manage absences better from an employer's perspective, and actually just being more engaged with a growing sector of your workforce who are going to find themselves at one point in their lives working and caring. And it's absolutely in an employer's best interest to support those members of staff who are juggling work and care, because if they don't support them, they might leave and go somewhere where they can get that support, or they just then, the other you know, thing that happens, which is not good for anyone, is that a carer will reach that kind of crisis point, and they'll go off on, you know, long-term sickness absence, or, you know, they'll just crash and burn basically. So, you know, as an employer, it makes sense to do everything you can to support the health and well-being, as you would of all members of staff. It makes sense to make sure that people are well looked after and supported. So we can sort of help with information around that.
Any infographics or anything like that, just to try and pull employers in, you know, first of all, just so I can give it to them straight.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some, we probably need to kind of tweak some actually. And I think maybe the e-learning stuff will help a bit. So we can get that. We're conscious that, you know, we probably, there's more that can be done, you know, to build up that business case, and it's something that we'll keep producing more information on. It's difficult always to get very kind of hard statistical evidence on that. A lot of it's anecdotal. A lot of employers who have become carer positive have said how helpful it is, and how, you know, how it's really helped them support their staff. But there isn't a really sort of strong statistical base to say that, you know, it does this or that. Certainly some organisations, some of our big employers like Centrica and Phoenix Group, I think, have begun to kind of gather information about the amount of money they've saved through recruitment and, you know, replacement when they introduced their carers leave policy. So we'll try and sort of gather some stuff together for you.
Thank you.
No problem. I think, did Louise have her hand up, or did somebody else?
Got a message from Louise in the chat asking about possible training related things during Carers Week, but
we can get back to you on that easily. Jennifer, you've got your hand up.
Hi there, thanks. So my question was just relating to those e-learning resources that were pending. Are they going to be widely available, or are they just available to carer positive accredited companies?
I mean, they're the thought was that they were going to be a sort of, it's something for carer positive employers, but actually I'd be happy to make them available to anyone who was kind of engaging with us. If it helped get you on the journey, then, you know, we'd be happy. I don't know whether we're just going to make them sort of pickable from the website, but anyone who engages with us, I think we'd be happy to share them with you. It's, you know, we're not sort of precious about that, but there's some sort of, we need to think a wee bit about just how they're released and whether they sit on, we're not quite sure of the functionality of how they sit on a website kind of thing, but we'll work on that. But yeah, we'll be happy to share them with folk who we are in touch with, certainly, whether you're carer positive or not.
Okay, I appreciate that, Sue. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else got any queries or things they think might be helpful to know? I think things I'm thinking about are, you know, getting a list of, making sure everyone's got links to local carer centres, because that's something that everyone can do easily. We'll make sure you've got the links to the Carers Week website and the graphics and infographics and whatnot. And yeah, Debbie, the sort of anything that helps promote the business case. And just keep an eye on the Carers Week website, because more relevant, up-to-date information will be coming on board, I think, quite soon. And yeah, the other one thing I would say is ask carers in your organisation what they might like to do during Carers Week, and it might just be something that switches them off from caring. You know, you can do all the looking at policies, you can do the awareness raising, but for carers themselves, it might be something that's entirely, you know, just sort of a nice treat-based thing, which allows them to have a break from caring. But it's good to ask carers themselves what they would like. We've still got 15 minutes, but we can easily end it there to let you have those 15 minutes back. Please get in touch if there's anything else at all that we can do to support you. Can we share with employers? Yes, of course. Yep, share anything you want. And if anyone here who's not a carer positive employer is interested at all in that process as well, just let me know and we can help you with that. It's very easy to get on board. It starts at the engaged level, in full recognition that you might not have you know, all your developed policies or processes or anything in place. It just allows you to state your commitment and become carer positive, and then the framework beyond that allows you to develop and build more support. So we can help with that if you're interested in it. So just, you can pop into the chat anything else that might be helpful. And if you found this session helpful, please say, and if you've got any other ideas for future sessions, pop that in as well, and we'll just we'll wrap up there and let you have some time back. But thanks everyone for coming along. And
thank you very much.
I hope you all do have a good Carers Week. Yeah, have a good Carers Week.
Thanks for coming. I'll send out the slides and all of that and any other sort of resources that were mentioned afterwards as well, so we'll get that through to you quite soon.
Thank you.
Right, cheers. Thanks
Everyone.
Bye bye. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too.
Thanks.
All. Thanks.